Hey everybody, Matt here with Take Roads Less Traveled, and today we are not working on the Avalanche or my wife's Acadia. Instead, we're working on a buddy's 2014 Ford Escape. We are going to be changing the oil on it. It's a real simple job, really easy to do yourself. We're going to walk you right through so you can see how to save yourself a little money on those oil changes. So first things first is get the vehicle lifted up on the front end. You can use a jack and jack stands. You can use a set of ramps, as you can see I'm using here, because we do need to get underneath the vehicle. Secondly, we're going to come over and just inside the vehicle, right below the driver's side of the dash, you'll have a hood release. Go ahead and click that, and then right here on the left side you've got a little yellow tab right there. We're going to move that tab over, and that'll let us bring our hood right up. Take the prop rod, lift it up, and put it right into that slot right there. And then we have access to our engine, top of the engine, where we're going to need to take that oil cap off, as well as use that dipstick right there to check the oil when we are done with this. So from here we can go down to the bottom of the engine. Once you get underneath the car, you're going to notice there is this fabric splash guard. Now there are 4 bolts on the front of it and 3 on the back. Your first on the front is going to be right here. These are a T25 Torx head. Like I said, you've got 4 on the front. 1, 2, 3, and 4 all the way in the corner. And then on the back you have 3. Back here, there's 1, 2, and 3. You can pull those out with a T25 Torx head, and then we actually have access to be able to not only change the oil, but also get to our oil filter. And with that splash guard out of the way, now we have access to both the 15mm oil pan bolt, as well as the oil filter, which is right here. Easy to grab, right on the front of the motor, and goes straight up, makes it super easy. So great job on Ford doing that. So again, 15mm bolt that for your oil pan bolt, and we're gonna have a bucket that all of your oil can go down into. Word on that, make sure you are disposing of your oil properly. After this all drains out, if you make a mess, clean it up, but also make sure to take that oil to a recycling center of some type. Most auto parts stores you can take your oil to, and they will recycle it for you, as well as the oil filter, and they'll take care of all of that. So we're gonna get right in here and we're gonna get this oil draining. All right, 15mm on here. Make sure we're going the right way. And I'm gonna need a little bit of a longer extension. Actually, I'll go no extension, so I can clear that exhaust. Now, this oil pan bolt is supposed to be torqued to 21 foot-pounds, so you might have to take and just give it a little tap, tap, tap to break it loose. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a tip here. At this point, you can get a nice long extension, and you can kind of gauge where your oil is gonna end up at by, the angle. It's gonna come out and it's gonna shoot down. So what I'm gonna do is, with this long extension, I'm now gonna pull this plug. I should say this bolt. I got a couple drips that I can clean up with a rag. And there we go. Made a little bit of a mess because I bumped my bucket. That's what they make rags for. So I'm gonna clean all this up. We'll let this drain. So while the oil is draining, we are going to focus on this drain plug. This is what goes into the oil pan. It's that 15mm. So we're gonna take and we're just gonna make sure the threads are really nice and clean, as well as the head, all surfaces. But then we're gonna pay a lot of attention to this rubber gasket right here, because this is what actually creates the seal to keep your oil from leaking out from the pan. As far as where this plug is at, you wanna make sure that there's no dry rot, as well as no cracks or anything in it. You wanna make sure that it's in good condition and that it is clean before we put it back into the vehicle. Once you have that ready, this bolt will be ready to go in once the oil finishes draining out. we have oil just kind of dripping out right now, so we're just going to take a rag and kind of clean that up a little bit. Could probably let this slow down on its drip just a hair more, but it's really not going to make much of a difference at this point. So put that in by hand until it's snug. Get our 15mm back out. And snug that right up. And like I said, that should be at 21 foot-pounds. I have never put a torque wrench on a oil pan bolt, and it's just because it's nice and snug, and then just go touch past that and you know you're good. The other side of that is once all is said and done, we're also going to make sure there's no leaks after we put new oil in, new filter, and put oil in the motor. So with the engine running, we'll know if there's a leak and if that needs to be tightened up at all. But now we're going to come to the oil filter. So let's take our bucket, move it on over. We want to position it directly below this oil filter. Now again, this is on a 2.0 EcoBoost. On the other motors in these Escapes, the oil filter may be here, but it also may actually be on the front of the engine right up here above the AC compressor. So if that's the case, you have to reach up beyond this radiator hose to get to that. Otherwise, on these 2.0 EcoBoost, it is right here. Now these should just be hand tight. You should not have to put a wrench on these, but we're gonna see. Sometimes, yep, you need to. So that is where this comes in. This is a strap wrench, and it's a little tight in here. Oh. There we go. If you start to slowly move. There she goes. All right, now that that's finally loose, hey, look at that. All right, now I'm gonna move this bucket again. I'm a little off here. The oil is going to, there we go. Oil is gonna start to drip down. And I wanna make sure it goes right into that bucket, because there's still some oil in the motor, and it's in the filter pump passages and everything, and we need to let that fully drain out. So we'll let this finish draining, and then we'll unscrew that filter the rest of the way, fully pull it out. So this is your oil filter pump, and you can see that oil all right there. So we're just going to take a rag and clean up this whole surface, including the threads and the end of that shaft. Now, I want to try and have as little old oil in here as possible. I want this to be a very clean surface if I can, because I want to make sure I get a good seal with the new pump, or with the new filter on there. So that looks pretty good. So now we can get the new filter ready. So we have our new oil filter, and a couple big things for you here is we are going to put a little bit of oil inside this filter, especially because it just goes straight up to the motor. What that does is when we first turn that key on and it starts to prime the engine and everything, there will already be oil in the filter to go directly into the passages. That just creates a little less wear on your motor after doing an oil change and that first startup. Secondly is we have this gasket right here. What we're going to do is add a little bit of oil to it. And what that does is that actually creates your seal. So we're going to take and put some oil into the filter. Just like that. Now you don't have to worry about any spill off the sides because it's just going to go right into these passages. And now we're just going to take a little bit of that oil and just do a real thin coat all along this gasket. Just like that. And now this is ready to be put right back onto the motor. All right, so you guys can see there's that pump. Like I said, we're just gonna take this filter, go straight up, carefully get it started on those threads. You do not want to cross thread this. Now, as you're turning this, you don't just want to go real fast. You want to go nice and slow, because you're gonna feel that gasket kind of grab the metal. Right there. I just felt it. I went from real easy spin to, whoop, it just caught. And what I need to do is, on this filter, there's a sticker on the side of it. Most filters have it. I need to make a mental note of a point on that filter that I can watch it make a 3/4 turn. 3/4 to 1 full turn by hand. You do not want to go more than that. Never put a wrench on these, never put a strap on these when you're putting them in. Only ever put your filter in by hand. So I have the filter number right here on the what would be the passenger side. So I need to get that to come all the way around to the back of the vehicle at a minimum. So it's at the front, it's at the driver. You can really feel it tightening up. It's almost there, and as long as it's, there it is. I have it right back here. I can see it. I have made 3/4 of a turn. If I want, I can go just a hair more. Maybe. Nope, I'm not going a hair more. That is good and tight. So like I said, 3/4 to 1 turn. That is the most you want to do by hand. Now that that's done, we're going to go to the top of the motor and put oil in. All right, so we're at the top of the motor. I've already loosened my cap, but if you want to see how you're doing that, you're just going to reach right here, give it a little twist to the left, and then a little extra, and it'll pop right off. Now, I'm going to use a funnel because I don't want to make a mess, and it's real easy to, especially because with this 2.0 is set back and you have this overhang. It's really easy to make a mess. So I'm just gonna run a funnel in there just to be safe, just like that. Now, this 2.0 EcoBoost uses 5.7 quarts of oil. My Avalanche uses 6 in a 5.3 liter V8. And this little EcoBoost 2.0 uses almost as much, 5.7 quarts. So that does include what we already added to the filter. So now it's just a matter of pouring it in. Now, most of the large jugs of oil are gonna be 5 quarts. So you're gonna need to buy another quart that you're gonna use about just shy of 3/4 of. And that will give you the exact amount of oil you need for your oil change. Let's finish this up. And then once we add in that other 0.7 of a quart, we'll check. We will put the oil cap back on, check the oil with the motor running, and we'll also check for some leaks. Oil is in. Again, 5.7 quarts of 5W30. Let's go ahead and start this motor up. First thing we're gonna do is pull our dipstick, give it a wipe, put it back in, let it sit for a second, pull it back. Now we can check our level. Now, you can see there's a bunch of hash marks on your line. Well, I've got oil going up past that, so I'm gonna flip it over and I can get a better gauge between these two holes of where my oil level is. Still looking a little high, so we're gonna do one more reading just to play it safe. As I said, you've got these little hash marks. That's where you wanna be. You wanna be in these hash marks here. That's on your dipstick. So we're gonna test it one more time because I couldn't get a real clear reading on there. a look at it, and everything looks good. Back in she goes. Let's go underneath and check for any leaks coming out. Nothing on the pan. And nothing on the filter. So now we'll just come, turn the car off, and with that done, now we can put that splash guard back on. Lastly, with an oil change on these is we're gonna take, and we have a push button start, so we're gonna hold this down for 2 seconds. Oil change required. So now we're gonna press the brake and the accelerator together for 3 seconds. And that will come up, service oil reset in progress. We're gonna continue to hold the brake and the accelerator down for another 25 seconds. Now what this does is, this is the computer's way of resetting your oil life in the computer. If you have a turnkey ignition, you're just going to turn it to the accessory, and then you're going to do the same thing with the brake pedal and with the accelerator. Now it says service oil reset complete. We can now let off of those. That goes away, and then we're just going to press the button again, turn the vehicle off. If you have a turnkey, turn your vehicle off, and you're good to go. So there you have it. That is how you do an oil change on these newer Ford Escapes. Specifically, like I said, this is a 2014 with the 2.0 EcoBoost. If you have the, I believe it's the 1.5 or the 1.6, and then you have the 2.5, you might have a couple little variances in it, but check your owner's manual for your oil specifications as far as what viscosity and weight you need. Like on this one, it's a 5W30. And then also how much you need, your engine capacity, which again, on this it's 5.7 quarts. And then, like I said, your oil filter may be in just a slightly different location there. But for the most part, they're all pretty similar, and it's just a general way of how you can do basic maintenance on your Ford Escape. So I will see you on the roads less traveled.